Vintage versus antique. When does it have to be made to be vintage, and when does it become an antique? First of all, let me preface this with saying I am not an expert. I am not an expert. It's just for information, entertainment purposes. It's like a little baby step to get you started. Antiques, to use the word antique, which I don't know if I need quotations, it's a word, antiques. An item actually needs to be 100 years old or older. Some of the 100-year-old items in the antique places that I go to are mostly glassware and furniture. But that is the technical guide to how something should be referred to as antique. So that leaves vintage being anything less than 100 years old. On Etsy Marketplace, and I don't know if it's like this on all platforms, their criteria for you to sell vintage on Etsy Marketplace is that the item must be 20 years old or older. We're in 2024 as I am filming this. That means anything dated 2000 and older is considered vintage. Consider all of my items vintage. I do not know a lot about antiques. I love to learn about it. But again, those would be items you would want to research with someone who's more versed in antiques and has been collecting for a long time. So there's a lot of ways that you can tell how old the item is. Of course, research it. Take a picture of it, look on eBay, look on Google Lens, research. I thought it would be fun to talk about different ways that you could possibly learn to distinguish vintage items when you're just scanning a booth or scanning somewhere you're shopping to try to find. Of course, the first one will be dated. The item will be dated. That requires picking the item up and looking to see if it has a date on it. And I'm going to show you some examples of the way those dates might appear on the objects that you pick up. Another way that you will learn that sometimes you can tell an item is vintage by its color. Now, this is not always the case, but you will start to learn certain decades mean certain colors. You'll have your pinks and your aquas for the 1950s. Your 60s and 70s are going to be maybe oranges and bright colors and what you would consider retro and groovy and the whole hippie vibe. And then your 80s might be the dusty blues and dusty mauves. And then your 90s might be hunter green and burgundy. Here's some examples of those fun ways that you can tell the different colors for the different decades. Watch these and see if you can tell which decade these colors came from. Another example that you might be able to use in order to distinguish if an item is vintage or if you're looking for a certain decade the item came from is characters. Characters are fun if you sell items or you collect items such as cartoon characters, or you're looking for Holly Hobbie, Strawberry Shortcake, Ninja Turtles, Garfield, Ziggy. Mickey Mouse looks a certain way in certain years. And here is some fun examples of those items that you might spot. And then of course, another way, and a way that gets a little more interesting, is the origin of where the item is made. And this is always easy if the item is marked. It may not always be marked, but this is how most of us in the reselling world learned how to determine when something might be older if you were just picking it up and looking.
We have Occupied Japan, Taiwan ROC, Taiwan, and then China.
After made in Taiwan is going to be your made in Hong Kong. Maybe asking, where's the USA, Eva? Where's us? We don't make any quality stuff? Yes, we do. We have. And that goes back to the items that I love from the 50s. You're going to see a lot of pottery, like California pottery, treasure craft. Those things are going to say on the back, made in the USA. That's just a little tidbit. There's going to be other items that you're going to learn to look for. All things that you'll just have to research. I'm just telling you the ones that you're going to run into the most if you are thrift shopping and antique shopping here in the United States. Hopefully this was fun for you to see some things that you might be seeing out in the wild when you're shopping, and some other ways that you can start to determine what decade your items came from. Thank you guys for spending this time with me. I hope you found something entertaining in this video, and maybe some information that'll help you if you are just now starting to buy vintage, or if you've been buying it for a while, and even if you are just starting your reselling journey. Happy treasure hunting, and I'll see you in the next video.